welcome to Scarborough Theatre Guild's Let's Talk. I'm Erin, and today with me is Andra Bradish. I'm so pleased to have her here because she's done so many things with the group, and today we're going to find out more of what that is. As a child, she was around the textile arts at an early age, and her mother was a dressmaker, and she started off with embroidery, macrame, Halloween and dance costumes, and Andra completed a diploma in costume design. She's worked on TV movies and with the Canadian Opera Company. We're so grateful to have her here with us, and I'd like to have you join me in welcoming the lovely, talented, and award-winning Andra Bradish. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Please, I'm so excited to learn more about you, and it's been wonderful to work with you. So could you tell us a little bit more about how you came to be with Scarborough Theatre Guild and all of the different projects that you've worked on?
Oh, well, I want to say with the Canadian Opera Company, I was making petticoats for La Traviata. And they were huge petticoats, so that wasn't anything too spectacular, but nobody saw them. It was fun to work on them. How did I come to be at the Scarborough Theatre Guild? I've been in Toronto for almost 30 years now, and did community theatre in the early 90s, and then started with the Scarborough Choral Society in the 2000s, and worked on 4 productions for them. And then Alison Overington, who was also working on that, asked me eventually to come and work at Scarborough Theatre Guild to do, I started in 2013 and worked on M Butterfly. So that was my first production, and I think I've done 15 productions with the Guild so far, continuing on, and then I think 6 with the Scarborough Players. So
that's a lot of shows. and what were the primary things that you did on those shows?
So I would say that I would call myself a costume coordinator. So not so much a costume designer, because with community theater you have to work with what you have in the wardrobe to start with, and then you have the opportunity to shop to add other pieces, or sometimes making things. So, but I'm not sure, because designing in professional theater is different. You actually have some say over it, but here you're kind of problem solving and gathering more than you are kind of designing. So that's why I would say I'm a costume coordinator. So that would be my role, have been my major role with all those shows that I've worked on. So
wonderful. And what may people not know about you in terms of hobbies or careers, or favorite plays, other ways you've supported theater?
I'm not sure what they would not know. I've worked on set decorating a bit, mostly with doing draperies and some painting, and I often have done the front of house, because that's always good, because you get to see the plays and you get to see your friends in the theater, because every time you do a play you have more friends, I think, because you meet new people and get to work with different people, and that you build a community, which is really supportive, and it's lovely to be part of a team, I think. So.
And as you reflect on all those different plays that you've worked on and the different people, can you think of what was possibly your favorite show or shows?
Well, I think what I'd have to say is that my the last show is probably always the favorite show. I would say I have a really soft spot for the Cripple of Inishmaan, which we just did in January, and it was a challenging show, but it was a lot of work, but a really wonderful team to work with. So, and I got to do some set decorating with that one, as well as the costume design, and then even being backstage to help with things that were going on backstage with the moving of furniture and things. So that was great, but it had a lot of challenges. I don't know whether people saw it. The egg challenge was
Oh, yes, tell us a little bit about that. Some of our viewers may not have seen it, and that was quite the challenge.
Yes, one of the oh, I don't know how you would express that. One of the actions in the show was eggs being smashed on on a person's head, and also thrown at a screen. So we had a big debate about whether we should use real eggs or not real eggs, and what would make a bigger mess and what would not make a bigger mess. And so one of the actors every night had 4 eggs smashed on top of his head, and he was a wonderful person who captured all the mess of the eggs in his sweater. So so that was one of the things. And then there was another scene in the opening scene. It takes place on a cliffside, and the actor, I mean, that what goes on backstage is not what the audience sees, but he was hooked up to a harness to make sure that he was safe. So we had to adjust his clothes to make holes in them so that the harness wouldn't show, but that he was safe, and then hopefully the audience didn't see the harness. So anyway, that was a challenge for that one. And
Fascinating, because again, from the audience's perspective, you wouldn't see that.
No.
So
Yeah.
and so not only does it have to look effective for the show, but you're taking safety considerations in play, and I guess maintenance because of the eggs every night.
Yes.
What did you have multiple costumes for the actor, or how did the maintenance happen after the egg smashing?
We had one of the actors was assigned to clean up the floor during the thing, and I had a costume assistant who took the sweater home every night to wash it. We did have backup sweaters, but we never had to use them. So because my assistant was very able and made sure that we were always had clean sweaters each day.
Very cool, very nice.
Yeah.
So, and the things you'd never know.
Yeah.
Can you think of the craziest show that you've been on?
Well, that was pretty crazy.
Sounds like it.
I think one of the busiest shows backstage was 39 Steps, which is another recent one, where we had only 4 actors. One actor played himself the whole way through. A young woman actor played 3 parts, and then there were 2 other actors who were the clowns, and they played several other parts. So they went through many costume changes. So it was pretty frantic backstage because they were on and off very quickly. So that was pretty crazy. There was the times when we were doing in Tons of Money. That was for players. There was an explosion scene, so the actor had to change his costume into very quickly backstage, and be spritzed with water and come back looking like he'd been exploded. So and then there was the other one, in the same one he was also drowned. So he came back with the swamp water on him as well.
Oh dear.
So it's always, those are the fun ones, I think, the challenging ones. So yeah, I think so.
And so when you think of those shows and the rehearsal process, are there particular moments through the whole process of creating a show that you love, or are favorite areas?
Well, the rehearsal process for me is basically about, there's the whole process that goes on with how you do costuming and coordinating. And so your first thing is you read the script, and then you do research if you need to, because you're looking for clues in the script to see what time period, what season, who the characters are they high class or low class, do they come from a particular background, or so on and so forth. So you've got to do all your research. Then you talk to the director to find out what their vision is. And then very early on, like, so I always feel kind of embarrassed about this, because you come to the first reading, which is where the cast gets together and reads the play together for the first time. And usually I try to be there for that so I can meet the actors. And then I try not to make that the day that I'm measuring them. But it comes very shortly thereafter, because often I'm meeting them for the first time. So to measure somebody almost immediately after is kind of like, can be a little bit, I don't know, uncomfortable in some ways. But anyway, so you measure them, so then you have an idea of what you're looking for as far as size and so on. And then you have an idea you go through the wardrobe here, which is quite extensive. We're very lucky to have the storage space to keep a lot of costumes here. So we go through that first, and then if I don't, and then I often come to rehearsal to try things on actors, because there comes a day when we have the costume parade, which is the most stressful day for me, which is usually, hopefully, before we go into the theater, and the what do I want to say about that? All the actors put on what they're going to wear throughout in every particular scene, and the director gets a good look at it, and the actors get to see each other, which is always kind of interesting, because I think it makes a difference. You would know how it feels to put on a costume. So, and for me, it's always stressful because everybody sees it, and you think, oh, I've got to change this, or I've got to do this. Something else has to happen, so you're making lists. Oh, one of the things, when you try things on actors, you often have to do alterations. So that's really an important part of a costume coordinator's job is to do alterations, to make them fit and look as best they can, because that's really important that the actor feel comfortable in what they're wearing. And the other thing that comes out of the costume parade is you start looking, for details that you've got to add, like shoes or well, hopefully you've got the shoes by then, but often you don't, because I'm not good at shoes, but purses and jewelry and so on. So you're adding the detail after that. And yeah, so that's for me, that's what the rehearsal process, and then, but you come to the rehearsal just to see what's going on too, because after I've read a play, I'm not always don't always have the same sense of it as what directors have, and then what is happening. So you need to know that too. So
It's a very collaborative process.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Yes, I forgot about that, because you have to consult with the set designers to make sure that the colors that you're using with your costumes are not clashing with the set. So
another detail on top of everything else.
Yes. Plus lighting and so on. So yeah. So it's a and then going into the theater, and when you move into the theater, and I like to do wardrobe maintenance, or be around and behind the scenes during the performances. I don't think every costume designer does that, but I like to do it partly because it's fun backstage. There's really always a show going on backstage that the audience doesn't necessarily know about, but and it's lovely to spend time with actors and get to know them, and crew as well. So yeah.